You say it. Welcome to the Peanut Butter Show.
I'm Portia.
I'm Bria.
And today we're going to talk to you about community college.
We're kind of just talking about survival tips and tricks and things that we learn, because community college versus a 4-year, they really are different in so many different ways. And we think personally that we've had some really interesting experiences at community college that could be deemed good and bad, but overall I think I could say that it was pretty beneficial for me.
I would just say we have gained a lot of wisdom through our experiences.
What not to do.
Yeah, what to do, what not to do. And we just wanted to help you along if you decided to take the jump into community college. So
how about before we even get into like our actual layers of information, we just talk about maybe a couple of benefits that we personally see, just so that part can make sense. So some benefits that I think are definitely there are, number one, it's way cheaper. That's just the obvious one. It's way cheaper than going to a 4-year. I think personally it's a lot less stressful. And if you're the type of person that's not ready to like jump into being around a bunch of people, being away from home and being involved, I feel like community college is a really good middle ground for people who aren't comfortable with that.
I think one of the benefits that I observed is that you are around a really diverse group of people, and like I would assume when you go to university you're mostly surrounded by people your own age, and so you just have to roll with that mentality. But at a community college there are a lot of people there for a lot of different reasons, and you can, like, you're in classes with these people every day, and like if you happen to be in a night class, like I know I've taken 1 or 2 night classes.
I haven't taken any night, but I've taken afternoon.
I would just see all these different people, and like a lot of them, they call them non-traditional students. They're basically just older folk.
I really think that that's such a terrible term to use, because the majority of the students that are in our community college, I think, was said that they are between like 20 and 25, but even then there's like a whole adult student category where if you're over the age of like 25, you're considered an adult student. And I'm just kind of like, why? Like, what does that even mean? You're just a student that's trying to go to college.
I just found it was beneficial to have like the perspectives of those people, and then like I would work on projects with them, and it would be a really enriching experience. Like, you just get the perspective of someone who's not your age, who's not necessarily doing college for the same reason that you are. Some people are getting 2nd and 3rd associate's degrees. Like, you know, some people are there just to literally, they're like retired and they have nothing else to do, and they're like, well, I'm going to get an education. So it's good to be around people who are not like you and have different views and different life experiences. That was one of the biggest.
That have already experienced life. I had one person that was like in my class, and I became really cool with her, and I found out she went to my church, but she was working on getting her doctorate degree already. She already had her master's degree, and she just had to go back and take a couple of like checkup courses so that she could go into getting her doctorate. And I was just like, you don't know that about people. Like, you just end up in class with them, and that's when networking comes into play, because you can meet these people, connect with these people, especially if they're in your major, and they can help you out and teach you so many different things that I feel like you wouldn't exactly get at a 4-year, depending on where you went, because a lot of the people there are the same age as you and haven't been able to go through those experiences and already have graduated and things like that. Okay, so
want to get into the video?
Get into the topics.
The actual meat and
topics
potatoes.
Got. So, classes and coursework. So, one tip that Portia had that I don't think I necessarily had a problem with, but I think I see a lot of people have a problem with this, and this is before you even start going as a student. Study before the placement test.
So my experience was that I was going and I was like, you know what? I don't need to study for this math placement test. I'll be fine or whatever. So I just walked in there and took the test, and I placed into developmental math, and that set me back an entire semester. because you can't, like, especially for science and, like, business or pretty much any of the, like, majors, you have to be in college level math to take most of the classes. So I was sort of...
Especially business.
Yeah, I was stuck taking that one developmental class until the next semester when I could, like, get into the meat of my classes. So definitely study for the... I think it's called an acuplacer. I don't know.
It's the acuplacer, and if you are an international student, you would take the Michigan test. But even then, I work in the advising office at my community college. Even though I graduated, I'm still working in there up until I transfer. There are a lot of people who come in there, and they're high school students who just graduated, and they're wondering why they didn't do well on the placement test. And although the placement test is easy, everyone needs a checkup. I mean, that's just like... that, you know, when you're like in high school and you take the summer off, imagine going back to school and just jumping straight into a test. The next tip is, if you really want to get out in 2 years, take 5 classes each semester. So the reason that I say this is because, again, there are so many students that don't know. Like, they come in thinking that they can just take like 3 to 4 classes, and they really think that they can get out there in 2 years. And mathematically, that doesn't even make sense. Like, I don't really know how else to explain that. If you're like, I don't get it.
I don't want to make people feel bad.
I'm not trying to make people feel bad. I'm just saying. So here's some quick math. Most of your courses are going to be 3 credit courses. You need 60 credits mostly to graduate.
To be considered a junior status when you transfer.
So if you're taking 5 classes a semester and you want to get out in 2 years, that's 4 semesters. Most people don't get out in 2 years. Most people get out in about 2.5 to 3 years if they're really trying to graduate. My boyfriend, for instance, he's in the construction major. Because there aren't a lot of people taking construction courses, basically, I think 2 of his classes this semester were canceled because not enough people enrolled in them. And this was his last semester. So if he didn't take those 2 classes, he can't graduate. The last point, I cannot stress this one enough. Like, these are the main important points. Check your program. Know what classes you're supposed to be taking within those 60 credits, even if some of them are general ed courses.
So what happened to me is my major was environmental studies, but I didn't notice until like my second to last semester that some of the classes I needed to graduate with my program weren't even offered at the college anymore. So I had to start rushing around, seeing department heads and like people in the admin to get substitution so that I could actually graduate because nobody told me.
And she was running around the school for a while.
Did
you ever get that graduation letter?
I did not, but I got my diploma.
Do you wish you had known about that before? Do you wish you would have known, check on your program earlier?
Yeah, I wish I had known to just like look and make sure that the classes I needed were being offered. Or sometimes classes are only offered exclusively in the fall, or sometimes they're offered exclusively in the spring. So you want to make sure that you're coordinating your classes so that when you need to take a class, you can take it. Because if you wait until it's just time to registrate, is that the word?
Register?
God. When it's time to register for classes, you can actually take... Bless you. You can actually take that class.
So then another thing that I wanted to add to this is that certain courses will have prerequisites. And if you're not paying attention to those prerequisites, you're going to think you have like a couple of classes left and you can fit them in one semester, but really you can't because you have to take one before you can take the other one. And you'll end up being there way longer than you expected. So you just need to make sure you're really looking at your program thoroughly, even before you even decide. Make sure you're talking to advisors and people in the school. Don't be afraid to reach out to these people because they get paid to do exactly what you need them to do.
I know in organizations in general, but like when it comes to universities and community colleges, they are notoriously like badly organized, and so you get different types of information from different people. Systems change, and then like no one's telling you about it, or like classes are dropped, or classes are offered, or like the
you have to be active.
Change.
Like this is your thing, and that's something that I wish I would have known, even though I really didn't have a lot of issues with my program, I wish I would have got to know my program department heads a little bit more. Portia knew a lot about her department heads and things like that.
I just want to shout out to Dr. Hubley. Like, we went to Prince George's Community College. Dr. Hubley, the department head for the biology department, was bomb. He helped me out. He got me to graduate. So
yes,
yeah,
get to know your folks.
Yeah.
Like they'll help you. They'll save your life.
Yeah.
So, I feel like that brings us to our next topic.
Professors.
This is my least favorite topic, I have to say, because these are the people that you grow to either love or hate.
So the first point was to try and meet with your professors at least twice during the semester, even if you don't necessarily need to. Having a relationship with them is key to having them care about like you and your grade and your experience overall throughout the semester. Like if you sit in the back of the classroom and you're not really paying attention, you're not engage during class. If it's the type of class where you can engage, like obviously
ask questions.
Yeah, ask
even
questions.
Like I used
make
to
little
do that.
jokes, you know, like
because even like I remember being in one of my classes and I asked a question that I kind of already knew the answer to, and I really didn't feel like I needed to ask it, but I just wanted to make sure the professor knew that I was there and I was actively listening to what he was talking about.
Or even if you don't have time, because a lot of students at community college have jobs and they're like,
yes.
you know, if you don't have time to meet with their office hours, try to like just meet with them for like 2 minutes after class, like,
or email them too.
Yeah.
Just email them and be like, hey, just wanted to make sure I'm doing this right. You just want them to be able to know that you're a student and that you care, and this really does have an effect on your grade. I can attest to at least 3 grades that I've gotten that are because the professor could see that I was trying and that I was doing my best and that I was trying to invest a relationship with them and in learning about their subject. And they care about things like that, because if they don't know who you are, you can't come out of nowhere at the end of the semester like, hey, so I'm like 2 points away from like a good grade. They're not going to care because they don't know who you are.
And most times, if you have a relationship with them and you are 2 points away from a grade, they'll just round it up.
Yeah.
They'll just round it up.
Yes.
We won't even have to ask. You want to specifically try to have some kind of good rapport with professors that are in your area of study, because you're going to need recommendation letters. You're going to want them to recommend you for internships. I remember I was taking an environmental biology class, and Professor Tracy Dirks, I love her.
Naming all these people.
Because if they ever watch this video, I want them to know that I appreciated them. Professor Dirks, she like pulled me aside and she was like, hey, I know you're transferring here and I have this contact there, or like there are these internships that might be good for you, so they can hook you up with jobs, internships, recommendation letters for when you transfer, or just like programs that would help you in your development.
Major. Specifically when you're talking about limited programs, and especially in my opinion, this would go specifically to like science majors, and then in people like in engineering, or like for instance construction, stuff like that, where you're getting so specific into, I'm just saying science majors overall. It's a little umbrella thing, but I'm talking about all you out there, you little like earth science freaks and stuff.
STEM!
What I'm trying to say is that because those are specific topics, you want to just be very active in the fact that they're going to want to see, schools you're transferring to, they're going to want to see people that were in your program talk about how good you were in the class. Versus if you're just talking about an English class, it's not really going to matter as much. Versus if you get a recommendation letter from someone who was directly involved in your major, it's going to look better for your major.
So the next topic is preparing for transfer, if that's what you're in community college to do. I'm sorry, go ahead.
This is just another quick tip with professors. Meet/email with professors that you are not in class with anymore.
I just want to ask, like, what do you talk about? Because personally, I feel like it's a little bit awkward to just like keep emailing a professor that you no longer have.
So here, a lot of professors, especially if you have a good relationship with them, they're gonna want to be like, hey, I've had so many professors say this. Hey, keep in touch. What does keep in touch mean?
Yeah, like, what do you
keep
say?
in touch can mean just emailing them and being like, hey, I'm so glad I was in your class. Here are the classes I'm taking now. I'm doing really great in them. Hope everything's going well with you. Bye. It's someone that you have to have a good connection with. And that really does matter. I'm not saying like constantly every week, like write up an email to them. Just maybe after the semester is over and you're in the next semester, just be like, hey, I was in your 10-10 class or whatever. And just something nice, short, and sweet. Preparing for transfer. So I think one thing that I was talking about before the camera cut was time management. When I was doing those pesky applications for transfer, I realized that I got caught up in so many different things, and like we were talking about how we procrastinate on papers and homework and a bunch of stuff.
But who doesn't?
Yeah. But when you're trying to transfer and all that stuff, there's so many different aspects, like emailing professors for recommendation letters, getting your transcripts mailed, writing the essays. All of that takes time, and if you wait for the last minute and wait until those deadlines, it's impossible to finish. And then essays. Yeah, those are the worst essays to write, because if you give me an essay for class, I can pretty much just be like, oh yeah, I can write it out. But when they ask you stuff about yourself, it's so much different and more uncomfortable.
Oh yeah, research essays I can get done. Like, I actually love research essays because all you have to do is just get the information.
All you have to do is research.
Yeah, and put it in a nice little nutshell. But essays about yourself, it's like, who are you? What are your goals? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? How can you contribute
how
to
many
this
kids
university?
do you want?
And it's like, how can I contribute to your university? I'm trying to get something from your university. Why do I have to bring anything to the table? Like,
those are the weirdest questions, because it's like, what do you bring to my university? My tuition check.
Exactly. It's like, what the hell? I'm one out of like 20,000 students. What?
I'm not going to make a difference.
I'm the pimple on the face of this university campus. I know it's a really simple tip, but what I found was helpful to me during like the semesters was just having a planner. A lot of people underestimate the power of a really good planner, and like you're going to use a planner that you really like. So I went out to TJ Maxx and I got a really nice planner that I loved. It had like the big lines, the big boxes for each day, and I was able to...
I have mine in my bag.
Do you want to
Yeah.
show and tell?
Yeah, why not? I have a planner. It's one that I got from Target. Was I with you when I got this?
I don't know.
I got this from Target, and I did have to look at a few to find one that I actually liked. What I needed was something that had an actual laid out calendar, and then something that had like the individual... You can't see this. The individual days too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would use like special pens and special markers, and you like write out things in it. It doesn't necessarily motivate you to do anything, but it helps
you keep everything that you feel like you've got bottled up in here and just place it on a piece of paper that way.
You really like.
That was a really nice tip. Thank you. Planners are only like $10, and you can keep them for a whole year. I mean, that's
so
a good investment.
That really helps with like time management and like just organization in general. Next.
This is, I think, one of the biggest topics.
Extracurriculars. Do them. Get involved.
What's that thing?
What?
You know what? I feel like there's a meme
The
somewhere.
Sheila Booth.
Just do it!
Oh God, we're so lame.
I know. It's okay though.
Is that the meme you were thinking of?
I probably was, but I couldn't even name it off the top of my head.
I can name any meme off the top of my head.
Name another Shia LaBeouf meme.
Oh, the meme where he was watching like 3 days worth of his own videos and the reaction image where he's crying.
What's the time? Okay, extracurricular activities. So, my first and most important tip for this is don't get caught up in your feelings. Me and Portia were involved in quite a few extracurricular activities, I have to say. And my tip is, and I even wrote this down, remember, this is a resume sprinkle. It's a sprinkle, a little nice little thing to plop on your resume. It's not your lifeline. I'm not saying don't take it seriously, but just remember, not everybody at the school is ready to be as involved and as open to participating as you are, people aren't going to be appreciative of everything that you do and the things that you put together and things that you organize or maybe even attend. You'll feel like there aren't a lot of people that are involved in it. Remember, you're doing this for your resume and to be involved.
So just a little backstory. We became officers for our college's honors.
You were in Honor Society and I was Phi Theta Kappa. We were officers.
It was like honors and PTK were kind of like sister programs, and we were officers for like both of them. Basically.
VP and Prez.
It was a lot of pressure, and we had a lot of difficulties just like working with the things that we had to work with. And Bria was saying that like while we basically had to organize a lot of events, a lot of like things on campus, and I'm not gonna lie, I had never done anything like that before, so I was pretty lost, and I don't think that we weren't prepared for it at all, just in terms of like the expectations that we were supposed to meet. We didn't know what we were supposed to do, like the technical things, the little things that actually you need to put in place to get those things rolling.
All of the paperwork, all of the planning, making sure you're getting the right room setup,
the
food.
restrictions.
The restrictions that the school has on the things that you can and can't do that make it impossible to do something that people would actually want to go to. But go ahead.
So the two biggest lessons I drew from that was basically, like Bria said, don't be discouraged by it. There were a lot of events that we organized that were poorly attended, or they just didn't go as we planned, but we also had some really good events. Like,
we had good events, and we honestly had a lot of fun. You get caught up in it, and like I said, just make sure take your feelings out of the situation, and remember what the purpose is.
Yeah.
And just remember that, like, you can enjoy it while you're doing it. Like, it's not all serious.
We met a lot of, I'm not gonna say interesting people, but like we got to meet
interesting people.
We got to meet a lot of people who were sort of like on our wavelength, like people who were, just trying to intellectual, trying to get out of community college as quickly as possible. They were transferring to the same colleges we were transferring to. They knew the same administrators.
It's a good way to
and teachers.
network.
Yeah, networking, and then like we collabed on a lot of projects.
Yes.
Alexis, Addison, we love you. We loved working with
Alexis Addison.
Yeah.
And SCS. There were like other clubs, especially Alexis Addison.
Yeah.
Shout out to her at Towson. We love you.
Yes, we love you. But she helped us out. We helped her out with different programs. So it was things like that. We were involved in a lot of the like after hour activities on campus, and it's sort of fun, especially when you do it with your friends.
I think that we were in doing a couple of other clubs and a few other things too.
Yeah, we were volunteering, and it was tiring, but it was fun. It was fun doing something other than just like going to school and going home or like doing your job.
Get that momentum of doing it, it becomes easier to do it. Like when I first say Portia and Tahia are my reason for basically getting anywhere that I am in terms of like my job on campus and being involved, because I met them and they really opened a door for me, and that's why I wanted to talk a little bit about networking. Know the right people. And Portia was like, oh, well, you think I'm the right person, but at the same time, she was my right person. You're not going to know who that person is, and it might be multiple people, but once you get that door in, and we were even talking about campus, there's like two different sides of campus on community college. There's that really tiny group of people that are actually involved in doing things, planning events, being in clubs, going to school after hours.
Things move.
Yeah, keeping the college campus life going. And then there's that large group of people that aren't. And that's okay. But you just have to remember that small group of people, once you start to get to know who they are, it's amazing, because it's like the little version of a 4-year. I feel like that had such a big impact on me writing my applications and my resumes. Most of the questions that they ask are, what the heck did you do while you were in community college? What did you participate in? What extracurricular activities did you do? Who were you working with? They want to know, like, did you actually make a mark or did you just show up? Because that matters.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, because we had to fill the positions for an entire year, it was the most hectic and like emotionally roller coaster year, but
there were tears cried.
But like we grew. I know I grew as a person. I learned what I was like.
You opened yourself up a lot more too.
I learned that, you know, I am good at being a backbone of a group, but I'm not necessarily the best leader. And like everybody wants to think, oh, I'm a leader, you know, I'm gonna be the boss of everything. And I learned that
was me.
Yeah, she's good at.
I was that person, but
she's good at like Portia, management and supervising.
Portia, this is like the same way that we're running our channel. Portia's the backbone. Portia's the behind the scenes person, and Portia helps out with so much with the editing, setting up the camera, and things like that. And I know I kind of like talk a lot and try to take lead in conversations, but to be honest, that's like my personality. I'm very direct and very in front of things, while Portia's like really helping set up everything, and I literally would be nothing without her in my life.
Yeah, so you learn things about yourself and just like your work ethic and
your placement too.
Yeah,
you know what kind of person you are in the group.
Exactly.
And that can be very
sorry.
That can be very beneficial for like you for now that when she transfers, or maybe you know, we always said, oh, we're not going to try to be as involved. But I think we'll find our place somewhere when we transfer.
Definitely, yeah.
I know we met so many people that we definitely encourage to join honors, get their GPAs up, and be more a part of the school. And I'm seeing those people now, and I'm watching them actually become officers in the positions that we were in and take over and kind of do
Honors,
very
Alex,
similar
we love
things.
You.
Honors, Alex, Zora, Rodrigo. Yes. Back to networking. The other point that I really wanted to stress was you can get up the ladder on campus by knowing people. And I know I said that a little bit before because I know Portia, but I really mean that in more than one way. Because that's how I got my job, was being involved in the honors program, and my boss knew my advisor. Another thing is, I've been in a few videos that are already on YouTube. Look up PGCC TV.
Oh yeah!
And I also do voiceovers for PGCC TV, the television studio at our school.
I didn't know that.
Yes. Talk to people even if you don't feel like it. If you feel like somebody's talking to you, you don't know who they are, who they could be. I know I have a lot of friends at the bookstore and things like that. I know if I was ever in a bind, I could be like, hey, I really need this book. Can you check to make sure you guys have it? Just things like that. Just knowing certain people. Jobs on campus. That's our last topic. That one can be really quick, but I just wanted to let people know. Check for openings, ask around at the school, bookstore,
apply for
library.
work study, even if you think you don't need it.
If you are getting financial aid, you can apply for work study. And there are wait lists for that. So if you're not really being active about trying to get a job, you're not going to get one.
It gives you another point of reference for people to see who you are, especially on your resume. So my boss, my on-campus job was, I was a reader/scribe for students with learning disabilities on my campus. So I took my own classes, but on the side, I was also taking notes in physical classes for students who just couldn't do it for themselves. And I was working with a completely different group of people than I had ever worked with before, and I enjoyed it so much. I got to learn so much about intellectual. It was a mix of people with intellectual disabilities and physical disabilities, and I got to learn so much. I made friends with some of the students that I worked with, and I was going to say my boss, he was really cool, and I was able to ask him for, if I was applying for an internship or another job somewhere, I was able to ask him for letters of recommendation or to put him down as a reference or something. And I had a whole other group of people that I was friends with, or adult employees of the college that I connected with because I got that job. So you could be in your classes and you have your professors and stuff, but if you have an on-campus job, you're introduced to a whole other side of the community of the college that you have access to.
So that's why I think that we can personally say, and now I'm thinking so much more positive about this than I did when we first started the video, honestly. There's so many things that I can appreciate because I feel like we've hit all the corners we could possibly hit in terms of expanding ourselves and getting to know people. We're really hoping that these things kind of show the possibilities, because I would say that had I not done as much as I did do, I wouldn't be applying for the scholarships that I'm applying for now, which, by the way, all 3 of them are full rides. Let's pray I get one.
If you have questions about our experience, or just like whether you're considering the decision to go to university or community college, like definitely ask us, like, you know, post a comment.
Whatever you want to do. I mean, because I wanted to stress that this was our personal decision, and that you could definitely go to a university and probably come out feeling a similar way that we did, but I'm just appreciating the route that I went, because I think that that was good for me. But this might not always work for somebody else. Like, for instance, people who are more social, they're usually fine jumping straight into 4-year universities and just going straight ahead. I mean, it's just the difference of doing things. It's not better, it's not worse. It's just 2 different descriptions, I guess.
Yep, so definitely aim all your comments and questions at us. We'll do our best to answer them, but we hope it helped, and we'll see you next time on the Peanut Butter Show.